Alright, hello everybody. Thank you so much for waiting. Glad to have you all in here. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, let me kind of get this all set up here, huh? Let's see. Hopefully it won't be too loud. I don't think it'll be too loud. It should be fine. I gotta make sure I can also hear myself speaking. It could be too loud, actually. Let me check. Because yeah, that is way too loud. Turn your ass down. Thank you very much. Oh my god, that is way loud. Okay. I just kind of like to have a little bit of mood music usually. I don't like to blast you guys out of the goddamn room. Sorry if that was too loud for a second there. I'm sorry about that, guys. Anyways, yeah, it's good to see you all here. Let's see who we got. It looks like we've got a couple of people in here right off the bat, and it looks like it's just Cobalt Steel hanging out in the chat log. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, I just wanted to do a kind of podcasty thing again. I've been really getting into the vibe for, oh, I'm too quiet, you say? Well, let me see if I can fix that. It shouldn't be that way. Let me see. Oh, I see what happened. I see. I actually, did the wrong thing. Yeah, I actually turned down the wrong thing by accident. I turned down my microphone, so thank you for saying something very quickly. Yeah, let me just turn it up just a little bit more. There we go. That should be fine right about there. I think you can hear me just fine. Yeah, I panicked when I started seeing the music was playing so loud. So I was like, turn everything down! Like, sure enough, I accidentally turned down my microphone as well. So I appreciate that you said something. Thank you very much, Cobalt Steel. Yeah, I just was in a podcasty mood, I guess. Originally, I was planning to do something with Cinder Shadow, but things didn't work out for him, so that's fine. But you guys also might notice I am streaming kind of earlier, like a few hours earlier than I normally do. The major reason why is because I'm actually pretty busy today. I have, I kind of mentioned it in last night's, or I should say yesterday's stream. I'm going to be going into town today. I'm going to pick up some lunch for myself, and I'm also meeting up with a good friend of mine. Somebody who I just started spending a lot of time with very recently. Well, relatively. Yeah, so I'm basically, I've been spending, like, pretty much the majority of this week indoors and working on streams and content. And I made a promise to myself that I made a few promises to myself when I started this month, and I left my job, which is I'm going to be dedicating most of my time to content creation. But on top of that, I also promised myself that I was going to get out and go spend time with people and actively do things in my life, like actually not be a hermit constantly, which was a major, major deal. Simply because, I kind of like, I don't know, it's something about, the combination of my days off, when I was in my previous work schedule. It was a combination of, working all day and all night pretty much, because I was working a job that usually required me to be at work for about, around 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours a day. And then I would just go home and pass out. And even on my shortened day that I had, I would be so tired from work even on my shortened day that I wouldn't want to do any content creation. So, my days that I was working, I wouldn't be out and about doing anything because I was too exhausted to do so. And then on my days off, I was just like, okay, well, I have to, work on making content. So, between working all day and all night and on my days where I'm working, and then doing content creation for the majority of my time on my days off, I wasn't getting out very much and seeing people and spending time with people. And so when I got into this month and I decided, okay, I've left my job, I want to focus on content creation. I want to see what I can do with the time that I have available to me to make content. But I also wanted to make sure that I would take time to spend time with people and, go into town and be out in nature and, go out and enjoy delicious food and, you know, hang out in a bar for a while or something like that. Like, I mean, I'm not going to any like real bars. I'm mostly going to like pubs and things like that where they're more social and less bar like. Because in general, I'm not a big fan of bars, but you know, like pubs are nice. Pubs are pretty nice, especially because the person that I'm seeing today, she kind of likes going to pubs, like pub joints. So that's kind of really encouraging me to kind of get out into a environment where it's more public, but it's not quite a bar. And you know, I'm going and spending time with somebody, and you know, and I don't drink a lot either. I I'm not a person who likes to drink a lot. I do enjoy alcohol, but I don't like drinking. Like I don't like getting drunk, and I don't like drinking. And so usually, like I'll go out and I'll have like a beer or two beers, and then that's it. Um, so and it was pretty funny because she was pretty adamant to me as well. She's like, "Well, I just want to let you know, like, I'm not going to be there drinking all night with you, and I have like things I got to do tomorrow and all this stuff. So, like, I'm not planning on spending all night hanging out with you." And I was like, "That's fine. I wasn't expecting that. It's okay." Um, you know, like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I'm just kind of this person who, you know, like and I was kind of talking about it in yesterday's stream. You know, I've kind of grown into being this very independent person who likes to keep to himself a lot. And, you know, I like to be able to have the ability to step away from people and be on my own and kind of recover from being surrounded by people. But the opposite side of that is that I'm also aware that I need to make sure that I have my time where I am outgoing and spend time with lots of people. So it's kind of this like I was talking about in yesterday's stream, it's this juxtaposition between being comfortably introverted and comfortably extroverted. So I never feel like I'm ever drawn more to one side. And it's very common for me to be more of one than the other for a long period of time, and then I have to step away from that and go on to the other side for a long period of time. So that's just kind of how it is. So yeah, I have some things going on today, so I wanted to kind of do a stream earlier in the day, which was my whole point of that long spiel that I just made. But yeah, I just, you know, wanted to come in, do something a bit earlier than I normally do, and still have time to go out, go into town, and just be with people, you know, because I need that right now. That's something I really need. I need to remind myself that there is still a world out there, and there are people who genuinely want to spend time with me, and I need to keep that in mind. So, but yeah, I'll be honest, I started this stream not really knowing what I truly wanted to talk about. That's why the title is so vague. The description's kind of vague as well. But I did know that, you know, I had a lot of interest yesterday in talking about, you know, like just like different forms of media and, you know, the consumption of that media, like games and movies and anime and television shows and all sorts of stuff like that. So I actually thought that it would be kind of fun to just kind of reflect on it and, you know, think about how different kinds of media, things that I, you know, games and movies and television, and how I consume them and how they affect my perception on things. And the reason why is because I have very particular tastes when it comes to watching something. And playing something. Like, I'm very, very picky, which is funny because I would say that when I was younger, I wasn't so much. I think that I consumed a lot more media with a lot less pickiness when I was much younger. So it's definitely changed a lot. Like, I find myself being a lot more strict about, you know, what I watch. And because like I said, like I was talking about it yesterday, I've been lately going back into animes that I used to watch when I was younger, and I'm kind of like rewatching them, and I'm kind of like, you know, being more picky about it, like, oh, this one is not so good, this one sucks. and then, oh, this one is even better than I remember it being, so like I'm, gonna watch all of it. And so I kind of wanted to talk about like what I seek in stuff like that, like what triggers me to be attracted to a movie or a show or an anime or even a book or even a game, and also what turns me off from that kind of stuff. Cobalt Steel says, speaking of movies, have you seen The Green Mile? Yes, I have. That's a very old movie. Well, old movie relatively. I mean, it's probably like 20 years old by now or more than that. Yeah, The Green Mile's great. It's been a long time. Very interesting, very fantastic, and like it's intriguing. It's sad. It's got a lot of great moments in it. That's a movie that my father likes a lot, and me and him, I remember very distinctly me and him watching it together and kind of bonding over it. 22 years old, that's what I thought, yeah. I've watched a lot of, I consume, like, not as much as I used to, but a lot of much older movies, like, even older than The Green Mile. Like, I growing up, my father raised me on Turner Classic Movies, so I watched a lot of movies that were very, very old. I'm talking about, like, 1940s, 1950s, black and white quality. I even watched some really great silent films when I was younger that were very, very intriguing to me. And why is that like that? Hold on a second. What? I need to check on something. Something got weird here for a second. That's very strange. YouTube is being very weird today. YouTube is being very, very strange today, and I have no idea why. So my computer has this thing where when I'm altering the sound settings, it frequently will say like, oh, you are changing the volume level, which is targeted at whatever you are currently watching. So I have, like, my stream up, and I have my current playlist playing in the background. I just kind of altered the volume for my own good, and my computer notified me that I was altering the volume of a video that I'm not watching. It's not on any of my web pages. It's not currently in my feed. It's not currently on the playlist that I'm watching. So I don't really understand why it just notified me that I'm watching something that is not currently on at all in the slightest. And, like, it was something that I briefly watched for, like, less than a minute, like, 3 hours ago. So, YouTube has been so strange lately. I don't understand it. They're being so... One of the weird things that YouTube has been doing, too, lately, is, and I'm not the only person that's been affected by this. I have no idea why it's happening. YouTube is notifying me when I'm streaming. Like, whenever I start a stream, they send me an email to let me know that I am currently live on my channel. And I'm like, yeah, I know that, because that's me. I'm doing it. Like, you don't need to notify me through email that I'm currently live, because I'm very aware that I'm live right now. I'm right in front of you guys, streaming to you live. There's absolutely no reason why you need to notify me that I'm live on my own channel. It's the strangest damn thing. And I've seen YouTube do it before, but then they stopped. And now, within the last couple of days, they restarted it again. Like, I don't know what's going on over there. It's very strange. Cobalt Steel says, I really like The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption. That's another good movie. Two really good Stephen King movies. Yeah, that's right. I believe that both of those are from the Four Seasons, which I actually have a copy of in my book collection. Which is, if anybody doesn't know, The Four Seasons is a collection of short stories written by Stephen King under a pseudonym. So what he did was, there was a period in Stephen King's life where he wanted to, where basically Stephen King already had this reputation as a famous writer. And he went through a period in his life where he wanted to produce material that wasn't attributed to him. And the reason why was because he was basically, like, typecasted as a horror writer at this time. So basically, whenever Stephen King would release a book under the name Stephen King, they're like, oh, it's the next Stephen King horror novel. Give me that horror novel. I want the horror novel. And Stephen King was basically like, I'm not writing a horror novel, you guys. I want to write some short stories that have nothing to do with horror. I just want to tell you an interesting story. Like, that's all he wants to do. So the Four Seasons was a collection of the short stories that Stephen King wrote under a pseudonym. He went under a fake name, and he produced those stories because he wanted to tell a specific kind of tale for each of them, and but they weren't horror stories, so he didn't want people thinking they were horror stories, so he produced them under a fake name. And the book is called, I actually have it in hardcover, it's called The Four Seasons. And basically each of one of the four seasons is an individual story. For example, he did what is known as Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, which is the movie The Shawshank Redemption. He did The Green Mile. I don't think it's actually called The Green Mile. I think it has a different name. And also he did a short story that's also really famous called The Body. And for anybody who doesn't know the story by the title The Body, you might know the name of the story as the movie called Stand By Me. So if you guys have ever seen the movie Stand By Me, that is actually known as the short story The Body, written by Stephen King under his pseudonym name. So I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think all of the short stories he wrote were all all the short stories he wrote under the Four Seasons, I believe, were all produced into movies later on. Let's see, I don't read for pleasure, so I'm going to stick to the movies. Well, that's fine, Cobalt Steel. I am an obsessive reader. I read a lot. I know that, it doesn't seem very clear that I read a lot, but it's a lot of the time because I don't show off my insanely massive book collection. I have a lot of books. I own a lot of books. I actually collect all sorts of different kinds of books. I always tell people, I'm a collector of varying sorts. I collect cardboard rectangles. I collect figurines. I collect certain kinds of stuffed animals. I collect cardboard boxes. I collect comic books. I collect regular books. So, and I also collect rare books too. So like rare comic books, rare cards, rare boxes. I collect glass. I love glass. I'm saying I collect these things because I want to avoid the fact that I'm secretly a hoarder. But yeah, I do read a lot. I'm actually in the middle of a book right now that I've read before. This will be the second time I've read it. And the reason why I'm rereading this book is because it's a comfort book for me. Right before, obviously, I'm in a really good mood right now, and things are going amazing for me. But literally, right before I shifted into this very amazing mood where everything is working out wonderfully for me, I was extremely depressed and I was going through a really hard time. I was kind of talking about it a little while ago. I was going through a really serious depression streak. And so what I did to help me get my way out of that depression streak was I decided to reread a book that gets me out of my bad mood. It's something that it's like a comfort book. So I've read it before. I know what it's all about, but I'm reading it because it's comforting to me and my mental state. And I mean, I know most of the material within it. It's just that it just takes me to that happy place. And so I'm like that with books. Books kind of help me get into a good mental state in varying different kinds of ways. And so I'm rereading this book just for my mental health. And then I plan on getting back into the Japanese timeline cycle. So I was reading Shogun before I went back to the book that is my comfort book. And after I was planning to go into Taipan, but that'll be the next book I read after my comfort book. Let's see. Cobalt Steel says, I have a stream idea if you want to hear it. I'll let you finish what you're saying. Sure, you can tell me. I don't care. You don't have to wait. I'll do my best to get to your comment as soon as I can. But yeah, I do read a lot, and I have a very large book collection, the majority of I can thank my father for. And sadly, my book collection is much smaller than it used to be because when I left California and moved to where I'm currently located, which is Idaho, I had to leave behind my massive book collection, and it was very sad. I had to donate most of my books to a Goodwill, which you know I was uncomfortable with. But I kept a lot of the good ones. There were some that I kind of regret having let go of. But you know, hindsight is 20/20 for that kind of stuff. But as a person who is an avid reader, I'm very picky about what kind of media I consume overall. I have very strict tastes. I look for very particular kinds of things, and I don't like being, like, the main thing of being a viewer of basically any kind of media that I consume, I don't like being treated like I'm an idiot, you know? And, like, I feel like that happens more and more. Hey, G-Gamer, good to see you, buddy. Glad to have you in here. It's good to see you, homie. And yes, I know who you are. I know who you are. You like, I know who you are. But anyways, yeah, I'm pretty picky about what kind of media I consume, and I don't like being treated when it comes to whether I'm reading a book or watching an anime or watching a movie or any kind of television show, anything like that. I don't like being treated like I'm an idiot, and sometimes I feel like, especially with a lot of media that is produced nowadays, and I mean, I kind of understand why, you know? I don't like being treated like I'm a moron when I read something or watch something. Cobalt Steel says, there's this game on Steam, it's free, and it's called Scribble It, and it's a game where a bunch of people get into a lobby, and you take turns drawing, and the people have to guess what you're drawing. Oh, that sounds like, Pictionary. That sounds like Pictionary. I think that's what it is, Pictionary. Yeah, I'll look into it, I'll check it out, dude. But anyways, yeah, it's, I don't like being treated like an idiot when I'm reading or watching something, and that's the worst thing, is, like, you know, like, for example, one thing that I really hate that a lot of animes do, which is what I'm, you know, saying, I'm affirming the idea that, you know, they treat you like an idiot, is when you're watching an anime, or any kind of television show for that matter, where you will watch something and you see a process act out. Like, they want to show you something that is currently happening because it's important to the plot, which, you know, like, that's what a show does. A show shows you something. Hence the name show. I'm showing you something. And they show it, and you watch it, and you absorb all the details, and you decipher it in your mind, and you understand what's going on. The thing I hate is when right after you show me something, you then have a character who comes on screen and says, he was doing this, and let me go into this deep description of every teeny tiny detail of everything you just saw. And it's like, I just saw that whole process act out. There's no reason for you to tell me what just happened. I clearly saw it right in front of my face. And, like, I mean, like, I get it that, like, sometimes people can't quite absorb what is occurring, but, like, when you have clearly shown me every detail of, like, the whole action and the whole process, there's no reason for you to insert a character who then monologues the entire description of what you just showed me. There's a famous saying about making movies and television shows and things like that. Famous saying. The famous saying is, show me, don't tell me. Because I'm viewing something. There's no reason for you to tell me what's going on. You just need to show it to me. And, like, if I wanted somebody to tell me what was going on, I would either listen to it without watching it, or I would read it in a book. That's where you're supposed to tell me, not show me. Two completely different things. Like, so I can't stand it when a movie or a show does that. It's the absolute most aggravating thing. And it makes me feel like they're treating me like I'm an idiot, you know? Like, I'm not an idiot. And I like to think that, like, I don't think that every single person is on my level of intelligence. There are plenty of people who are way more intelligent than I am. And there are plenty of people that are way less intelligent than I am. So, like, you know, I know we don't all share the same intelligence level. But, like, one of the things that's great about movies is that, you know, you can watch a movie because there's a lot of people, like, for example, what Cobalt Steel just said, like, he basically just told me, like, I don't enjoy reading books. Like, that's not a dictation on how smart Cobalt Steel is or isn't. What that says is that there are people who would rather watch something but not read something, which is totally fine. There's plenty of people like that out there. So, like, the purpose of watching something is you are showing somebody something because you don't have to describe it or explain it. That's the whole purpose of showing it. And that's how those people consume it. So, why would you show me something in clear detail with all the information I need on the screen? And so, there's no reason for you to explain it to me. I clearly saw it right in front of my face. There's no reason. Let me catch up on the chat log a bit more. Cobalt Steel says, it gives you 3 options and you have to draw one of those 3. My friend and I had some really funny moments playing the game. Alright, I'll look into it, Cobalt. G-Gamer, are you trying to tell me that you're naked? I mean, I know I'm very, very sexy, and I know you miss me, brother. Don't think I've forgotten you. I know who you are. I still love you. Come on, boo. Come on, boo. You don't have to get naked in front of me. I know how you feel. G-Gamer also says, just moved into a new spot and got my library up and running. Feels pretty good. That's pretty cool. Do you mean library as in books or movies or possibly a combination of the both? He said, G-Gamer says, I mean, I'm always naked. I know how you roll, brother. It's okay. I know you a sexy man. And I know that I bring the heat and it turns you on and you just can't help yourself but get naked right in front of me. That's right. But, yeah, G-Gamer says, but extra now. Got it, buddy. I'm glad that you're getting all your stuff together. I'll go ahead and admit, I was checking you out recently, buddy. I was checking your stuff out, and, keep it up. Don't give up, homie. You do what you gotta do. I do really hope that, I haven't seen any information about it, but I do hope you're still producing music, because, in my opinion, you're a musical lyrical genius, buddy. Stay on that shit, okay? But other than, you know, the musical genius that you are, I really hope that everything is going amazingly for you, Home Slice. Gamer says, surprisingly, books rather than movies. There you go, man. Read more. That's what I'm all about. I definitely love reading. I'm trying to, like I said, I'm reading a book right now that's helping me get my mood into a better state. And like I said, it's something that I've read before, but sometimes certain books have very certain kinds of mood sets for me. And sometimes I just like to pick up a good book that puts me in a happy, comfortable mood. And when I start making my way through it, I just kind of get into this wonderful mindset that basically puts me in the right direction again. Cobalt says, I stayed up till 3 a.m. playing Gmod last night. Very cool, man. Gamer says, same to you, homie. Aw, thank you, homie. Did a crap ton of stuff. Yeah, there you go. Keep it up, dude. Keep it up. But anyways, yeah, to keep on monologuing, because that's what I do. I'm a monologuer. People come here to listen to me monologue, apparently. I've only recently discovered that. It's actually funny because there were some times where I'm like, oh god, I'm talking too much. I'm talking too much. Like, good god, why can't I shut up? And, but it's been wonderful having people who have come in and have told me, they're like, hey, like, I just enjoy listening to what you're talking about and you know, hearing your opinions on things. And I've even had 2 different people come in and be like, hey, like, your voice is really soothing, and it puts me in a comfortable state. So that's really nice. It basically once again affirms to me that I'm in the right place, doing the right thing, talking to all the right people. So I love it, and I love all of you guys. Gamer says, Mystery Incorporated 2020, audiobooks, scoring a movie, did some trailers, and playing in a band. There you go, buddy! There you go, Home Slice. Glad to hear it. Did some trailers and playing in a band, so putting in the work. Also snuck in some of my jams into the Shock videos. There you go, dude. There you go, man. Just never give up. Don't give up. And don't pay attention to the haters. You keep on chugging. You work your ass off. You put in the work. You dedicate. You don't stop. And people will love what you do. He says, so I'm trying. I believe you, bro. I believe you. Adam is giving me a thumbs up. Thumbs up to you, Adam. Thank you for coming in and hanging out. It looks like we've got Roxas in the house as well. Roxas, thank you so much, by the way, for in yesterday's stream. Thank you so much for coming in and encouraging me to bring out all those games and kind of talk about them, because that was something that I wasn't expecting to do, but I really enjoyed being able to talk about all those games and kind of talk about my opinions on them, and it kind of got me into this rigmarole of wanting to talk about, you know, what I'm talking about here, actually. In fact, no joke, all the stuff that you encouraged me to do in yesterday's stream is what overall convinced me to do this podcasty stream where I'm just talking about intriguing forms of media and things like that. So I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. Gamer says, this is my gaming channel, which started really early last year. All right, you work on it, dude. Cobalt Steel says, did you listen to the Bon Jovi parody I sent you? I have not. I'm sorry, buddy. I promise I will. I will, okay? I'm just a little slow to that stuff, okay? Draco Reaver says, stream while I'm at work. At least it's slow enough for me to check in. Hell yeah, buddy. Glad to have you, Draco Reaver. That's Dragon's Lair Gaming, I believe, right? I'm pretty sure that's who that is. But glad to have you nonetheless. I love having all you guys. But anyways, yeah, it's been a fun ride, and yeah, I really just kind of love sitting in front of everybody and talking about whatever I feel like, and I've been getting such a great positive response from so many people, and, you know, now that I've been dedicating myself more and more to it, I do have to kind of let people know that I don't think that I'll be able to, at my current pace and based on my current setup at the moment, I don't believe that I will be able to keep up a constant ability to produce something every single day like I have been this week. This week and possibly next week are special. I basically, what I did was I needed to have the time to myself to say, basically what I did was I said, I need to prove to myself that this is something I can do, and this is something productive, and this is what I want to do. And so that's why I was like, okay, for this limited amount of time, I'm going to produce something every single day. Every single day. That was my rule that I set for myself. Because I needed to know what it felt like, and I needed to know how I felt about it overall, like to find out if this is what I want to do. And I also kind of needed to see what the overall response was from this little tiny community that I've built here. And basically, I've discovered that everything has worked the way that I want. Now, obviously, like, I haven't attained this instantaneous, you know, monetization growth. But that wasn't what I was looking for. Because, like, I knew that that wasn't something that was going to be immediately achievable. Is it achievable? For me, absolutely. I'm very aware that that is something that I can achieve. But was it immediately achievable? Absolutely not. And that's not what I was looking for. What I was looking for was to see how I felt about it and what kind of impact it had overall on my channel. And I have seen all the things that I wanted to see, like, right in a very short amount of time. So, and like I said, like, not instantaneous growth, not instantaneous results, like, nothing like that. But what I did see is the people that I enjoy having here are absolutely enjoying what I'm doing and making, like, you guys are making this amazing effort to be here to see what I'm up to, which is what I wanted to see. That was what I was looking for. And the other thing that I saw immediate was that I gained, like, something like, what is it, like 6 or 7 subscribers, like, since I started doing this, which, like, you know, any large YouTube channel would, you know, scoff at. Whatever, I don't care. I don't care what those larger channels are doing. I mean, I do, but not in the sense that I care what they're doing, like, based on their opinion of me. That's not what I'm talking about. I do care about what they're producing because it's a combination of entertainment as well as I watch a lot of different kinds of channels to learn lots of different things to see what I can implement over here that works really good for me. So, I mean, I do care about bigger channels, but if a bigger channel came along and was like, your shit sucks, I'd be like, I don't care what you think then. Like, you don't matter to me if that's the case. Like, so, you know, in the very short amount of time that I have been doing what I've been doing this week and possibly into next week as well, I have seen the immediate results of what I've wanted to see. And that's all I need. That's absolutely all I needed. And I also am, the other major thing is the realization that this is genuinely what I want to do. Like, I mean, I can't jump into this full-time quite yet, but I'm very aware that I am going to be making this major effort to turn this into something that I want to dedicate myself to wholeheartedly. And nothing's going to stop me. Like, yes, there will be probably some delays in the future. Yeah, there will probably, you know, like, I'll need time to work on it and, you know, things like that. But I'm very aware that this is absolutely what I want to do, and there's nothing on this planet that can stop me from doing it. Roxas wants to know, when I play Unturned, may I play with you? It depends, buddy. I haven't actually tested the game out. I'm also very cautious about having, you know, random people play games with me because that has happened plenty of times where I will get a random person who will be like, hey, like, I noticed you're playing this game and I love it and I want to play this game with you. Is it open to the public? And usually I have to say no. Because it's a very slippery slope to get into that kind of stuff because you never know what kind of dangers you run into. You know, I have to be cautious as a content creator. I may be small, but, you know, that doesn't matter because the point is that you have to be, oh my god. G-Gamer, were you watching my Minecraft stream yesterday? If you weren't watching my Minecraft stream yesterday, I highly recommend you give it a good watch because, I went into a MapleStory monologue in my Minecraft stream, yesterday. And I was reminiscing on it very heavily. Tons of MapleStory footage. Oh my god. Give the people what they really want. Does anybody even play MapleStory anymore, G-Gamer? Sweet Jesus. Gamer, go and when you later on after the stream or whenever you have the free time, and you don't have to if you're too busy. I know that you're a very busy guy doing many amazing things. So I'm not going to, you know, demand that you go and watch my video. But if you watch yesterday's Minecraft stream, I went very, very heavy into talking about MapleStory. Not until the very end. But I did talk about some of my many endeavors and silly things that went on. It's actually funny. G-Gamer, now I'm not going to dox him, you guys. I love G-Gamer. You guys might not know this. Me and G-Gamer are actually childhood friends. And I'm not going to dox him. But me and him go way, way back. And we actually, the reason why he's bringing up MapleStory is me and G-Gamer used to play MapleStory together. We used to be guildies, and we did lots of things together in the game. I even remember that me and G-Gamer, we stayed up for 3 days straight. We went 3 days with no sleep because we were waiting for a MapleStory patch that was like, we stayed up for one whole day and then they delayed it. And then they're like, okay, we'll release it the next day. So we stayed up another day. And they're like, okay, we ran into some problems. We're going to delay it for another day. So me and him stayed up another day. And we were just waiting for the patch to drop. And we just did like a 3-day no sleep. Like just waiting for the patch to drop. And, but yeah, and we did end up playing it because they did release it after the 3rd day. But yeah, we used to play it together in our childhood. And you guys might have mentioned you guys might remember if you were in the previous Minecraft stream, I was talking about my ridiculous endeavors with my 3 different wives that I had across the game, across my entire gameplay. G-Gamer, even though he... Uh-oh, I made a boo-boo. Hold on, I gotta wait to fix it. Okay, there we go. G Gamer knew my first MapleStory wife. And that was quite ridiculous. So he remembers my very first MapleStory wife. I don't know if he ever met my other two, but he remembers my first one for sure. It was very strange. It was definitely very strange. But yeah, he's a childhood friend of mine. So, oh goodness gracious, he's gonna check it out. Very nice. Got to grab tons of footage tonight, so I need entertainment. We have history. Pendulum and MapleStory, yes indeed. The Fountain is my favorite Pendulum song. Recently told my girlfriend about the marathon we did of Tetris and Goosebumps. Dude, oh my god! Gamer, do you remember when you and me played Tetris nonstop for a whole day? And we came down with Tetris syndrome, which is a real thing! If you guys don't know... Okay, so no joke. Guys, there's this thing called Tetris syndrome. And me and Gamer, we actually came down with what is known as Tetris syndrome. And Tetris syndrome is literally, it's a condition that you can achieve by playing a video game non-stop. So, like, whenever you play a video game non-stop that has different kinds of memorization patterns in it, what'll happen is you play it nonstop for hours on end. Me and him played it, like, we played Tetris obsessively for like an entire day. And we both, in the process, came down with Tetris syndrome, which is when you play Tetris, when you get Tetris syndrome, it's basically, which is applicable for any game that has memorization patterns in it. And what happens is when you stop playing the game, you start seeing the patterns of the game outside of the game. So, like, you stop playing the game and you put it down. And you start seeing, like, the patterns in the game. And you start seeing the patterns when you close your eyes, in your eyelids. And then you go to sleep and you have dreams of the patterns that you're seeing in the game. So, like, Tetris syndrome is called Tetris syndrome because the first time that people discovered that it was a problem was during the early days of Tetris. Because people would play Tetris back in the old, like, I think it was, like, originally on the Atari or whatever. People would play Tetris so obsessively that they would come down with the syndrome where they would step away from the game and they would see all the Tetris patterns in their eyes. Like, they would see it in reality, they would see it when they closed their eyes, and they would see it in their dreams. But Tetris syndrome goes to any kind of game that has memorization patterns or objects and symbols that are easily recountable by your mind. So, like, for example, people that frequently suffer from Tetris syndrome are also frequently Minecraft players. So, like, for example, if you, like, play Minecraft nonstop, and then you step away from the game, and you start seeing everything in block form, and you close your eyes and you start seeing the blocks in Minecraft, or you go to sleep and you have dreams about being in Minecraft. That is Tetris syndrome. Okay, see you later, Roxas. Thank you so much for coming in and hanging out with us, buddy. I appreciate it. But yeah, so Tetris syndrome is a real thing, and me and Gamer, we used to play Tetris on the Nintendo DS together. And so we would go into these epic, like, Tetris battles, and we would literally play it non-stop for, like, you know, all day. And we both came down with Tetris syndrome, where when we finally, like, stepped away from the game, like, it was his mother who had to come into the place and just like, will you guys put down the damn game and eat something, for God's sake? And so we would step away from the game and we would go and eat and do some other things, and we would be seeing Tetris patterns everywhere we went. We thought we were going crazy. Let's see. G Gamer says my girlfriends are getting heavily into the new Tetris that dropped. It reminded me of us. Yeah, there you go. Tetris is still really fun. I don't really play it much anymore. I did actually, like, I remember buying the Tetris game, and then all my games were stolen from me, so I lost my Tetris game. And I believe it, like, the old Tetris game that me and Gamer used to play is considered, like, this major collector's item now, so it's, like, impossible to find. I feel like it was a day that turned into a year. Yeah, pretty much. We would game in math class. Yeah, dude, one of my favorite all-time, like, quotes in my life that I still use to this day you said, it came out of your mouth, was, I will never, ever forget the day where you and me were in radio television class together. And I was actually in the class by myself. Well, not by myself. There were other students. And I was sitting there and I was playing away on Pokemon because we didn't care. Me and Gamer, we used to play our Pokemon games in class. And so we would just sit there and play games in class. We didn't give a shit because we were straight A students in the class, so we didn't care. And there was this day where I was just sitting at my desk, like playing Pokemon on my DS. And no joke, Gamer slams the door open to the classroom, and he sprints in. He like runs over to my desk, and he slams his hand on the desk. He's like, Mike, okay, hold on. I was like, dude, are you okay? What's up? He's like, bro, my PK Mans are so awesome. They're like boobs, man. My PK Mans are so awesome, they're like boobs. And I just, like, sat there and stared at him. And I just busted into laughter, and I was crying from laughing so hard. I'll never forget that. It was like this big ordeal. And the thing that was so funny was the reason why he said it that way was, he said it that way because, like, yeah, we play games in class, but we didn't want everybody to know that we were playing Pokemon all the time. So we, like, made code words to, like, talk about our games that we were playing so that people wouldn't think we were, like, these losers playing Pokemon. So we would refer to them as, like, PK Mans, and we would try to describe them without, like, actually saying what they were. So just him running in and, like, slamming his hands on the table, just being like, bro, my PK Mans are so awesome, they're like boobs, man. They're just like boobs. It was so good. I still say that to this day. I think I've even said it in, like, one of my streams at some point. I don't remember which one, but probably one of my Pokemon streams, I'm sure. But, oh my god, it's such good times, dude. I don't want to completely monopolize the conversation just built around my memories and all that, so I should probably move on. But yeah, me and G Gamer, we go way, way back. Way back. One of my oldest friends for sure. And like, oh dude, it was the best. Of course you said that. I will never forget that. Like, it's that statement changed my life, bro. Like, I could never forget that. That literally changed my life, man. But anyways, I was also going to say I have a couple of other dudes who come in and hang out with me in my streams. G-Gamer is not my only childhood friend that comes in and hangs out. There's a guy who comes in here he goes by his full name. I don't know why he chooses to do it, but if you guys ever see a guy, he was actually in my Phasmophobia stream a couple nights ago. If you guys ever see Jabin Toman, he's a blue wrench in my stream, and his name is Jabin Toman. That's his actual name. I guess he's comfortable with his full name on the stream, which is fine if he chooses to do that. But yeah, me and him go way back. I've known Jabin Toman as long as I've known G-Gamer, actually. He can't believe he said it. I unfortunately got a jet, so I'm doing a stream at 1:30. All right, you have a good time, bro. You have a good time. All right, you have fun, buddy. You have a good time. But anyways, yeah, I gotta set aside those nostalgic moments and kind of go back to what I was talking about, which is talking about media in general. And I mean, I guess I could probably segue into, like, games as well, because that's what we were kind of talking about. Oh, nice! Very nice, dude. Well, that's good to hear. I thought you moved away from him, though. So, I mean, you guys do you. It's all good. Yeah, that's not so much the same for me. I'm actually trying to convince him to come and visit me down here up here in Idaho. So, you know, it's all good. But anyways, yeah, I think I kind of wanted to finish my thought process on what I was talking about with, you know, movies and shows and anime and things like that. So I think I'll kind of get back into that a little bit, which is that, I'm going to check something his way. All right, take it easy, gamer. Thanks for stopping by and reminiscing with me. I appreciate it, homie. But anyways, yeah, the thing is, too, is that, I really am kind of, like, very picky about what I watch, and a lot of the time it's like I was talking about the whole showing not telling situation, which seems to be kind of like a big issue for a lot of like animes in particular. Like I feel like overall shows and movies are usually better about it. Sometimes I see it as an issue in some stuff that I see, but not all that often. It's more often involved with animes, because I don't know why animes do it. I feel like that it's probably maybe the overall, fact that it's mostly like a lot of children and teenagers watch anime. So I wouldn't be surprised if they believe that they're like, oh, like, a child or a teenager is not going to immediately understand what I clearly showed them on screen. So maybe what I should do is have another character come in and just carefully explain every single last detail of like what's going on. And I really kind of hate that, because like I feel like it's not necessary. I feel like that there are like plenty of children and teenagers that are very smart enough to be able to pick up what's going on, and they don't need all that heavy exposition about like what is happening right in front of their faces. Cobalt Steel says, speaking of nostalgia, that reminds me of my many times of playing Skyrim when I was younger. I grew up on Skyrim and Minecraft. Yeah, I used to play a lot of Skyrim as well. I don't play it as much anymore, obviously. I kind of grew tired of it, and one of the things is that I used to get into playing Skyrim with mods, and then I ran into an issue where like I tried to change my game in a way. Like I tried to add, I think it's called SKSE, and for Skyrim. And once I tried to set up SKSE for Skyrim on my computer, like my computer was just like, nah, bruh. Like, nope. Not only are you not going to run SKSE, but all of your mods that you had before are gone and they don't function, and all you can do is play Skyrim on vanilla. And I was like, well, now I don't want to play the game anymore. Like, I'm sorry, I don't. So, I mean, I did adore Skyrim for the long period of time in which I played it, but I got very tired of it, especially once I lost all access to any kind of mods that were available to me at that time. So, I mean, it's not really something I'm into anymore. Like, genuinely, it's not a thing that I do much anymore at all. But, hold on a second. There we go. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I guess I feel like I should probably just shift into games. I really do want to talk more about, like, movies and stuff, but, I guess this kind of shifts into games, because I do feel about the same way with games in this fashion, which is that, plotting and character development, guys, like, it's so important, and I get so mad when, like, I watch or play a game. Like, I feel like it's probably not as common in games, because, I mean, you have to have character development in a game in order for anybody to appreciate a game. But in shows, it gets so lost so easily, and I don't understand why. Like, especially in anime. Oh my god. The way that they destroy animes by not, like, developing their characters in any fashion is just disgusting to me. Like, especially when they do, like, a protagonist who is so, like, paper thin and boring. Like, good freaking god. Like, develop your characters, guys. Like, come on. Like, what are you doing? Like, I feel like it happens a lot in, like, fantasy style, like, animes a lot, where they'll create a main character who is so run-of-the-mill boring, with no distinct characteristics of their own. Like, no distinct like, it's like usually they'll create, like, a fantasy protagonist who is just like, oh, well, he's a nice guy, and that's his character quality. And it's like, that tells me nothing. Like, and they're like, well, we purposely, like, make him a blank slate so that anybody who has the ability to watch the show can put themselves in the shoes of the character, and they can pretend that they are the character. And it's like, but, like, that's not why I'm here. And, like, I don't like that, because, like, and even so, like, even if I were to, like, pretend to do that, like, like, let's say, like, I wanted to try and personify myself in the shoes of the main character of the show. Like, all he is nice. You know, like, they have these, like, fantasy-style main characters where their only character quality or character trait is that they're just nice people. And it's like, you know, like, I'm a nice guy. You know, like, I know I am. And I know that there are a lot of other people out there who are also nice guys, you know? But, you know, like, we have other character traits. Like, I like to think I'm a pretty complex dude with many different kinds of emotions and opinions and distinctive characteristics and qualities, and I would assume that every other human being on this planet is exactly the same. They have, like, distinct characteristics and qualities and opinions and things that, you know, make them angry and things that make them happy, and, like, they seek, you know, certain kinds of qualities in other people that only they particularly enjoy. And, like, because every individual person on the planet is a unique and individual person with their own set of opinions and own set of characteristics, it is literally impossible for you to write a fantasy protagonist who's just a nice guy, and then that somehow magically, like, is able to be personified by every person watching your show ever. Like, that's bullshit. I'm sorry, guys, but that's total and complete bullshit. Like, I hate that. Because, like, it's like insulting to, like, it's insulting to the audience that you're trying to reach out to. You know, like, you have, like, this audience that wants to place themselves in the shoes, and it's like, oh, well, if you're going to place yourself in the shoes of the main character, that means that the only character trait you have is being a nice person. Like, no. You're insulting the integrity of every human being who is trying to attempt placing themselves in the shoe of the protagonist. Like, you want to know what's the better way to go about it? Write a distinct human being with distinct human qualities and distinct characteristics that are not trying to, you know, apply themselves as being every person on the planet, you know? Because that's impossible. You can't do that. Just write me a good character. Give me a real three-dimensional human being with real three-dimensional characteristics, like what makes him angry, what are his goals, what are his aspirations, like what makes him happy, like what kind of girls does he like, or like what kind of dudes does he like, if that's the way you're going to do it. Like, you know, what kind of friends does he surround himself with, like what are the qualities in the friends that he has that he enjoys, like what like, why is he doing what he's doing in the show, and like, why does he choose to go that direction? Give me a character that's real, three-dimensional, not these cardboard cutouts. I'm sick of them. I'm sick of cardboard cutout characters. It's obnoxious. That's like a sign right off the bat that I'm going to be watching a show that's terrible. Because I want to see another human being. I don't need to be that character. I don't need to pretend that I'm some other person. I'm quite happy with who I am. I don't need to pretend to be another person. I'm good. Like, I mean, yes, I love escaping into a good story. You know, I love escaping into a good fantasy story or a good science fiction story, or, like, that is escaping. But the point is that I'm, you know, escaping into that world as an audience member. I'm not escaping into that world as a character in the storyline, you know? So give me real characters in your storyline. Build your world, build your characters, like, make them feel like that they are people that I could go out and meet in real life, who are obviously going to be different people than I am. You know, like there are so many human beings out there, and with all different qualities, and, like, I would like to be presented with a main character who, like, has normal human-like qualities, like distinctive personalities, that I could say, you know what? That character, I could run into a guy like that on the street. Like, yes, maybe he has magic powers in this fantasy world. Or, yeah, maybe he is exceptional with swords and things like that. But the point is, he's still got human qualities and a distinctive personality that I could totally believe is a personality type that I could meet out on the street every day in my own regular reality. I'm going to go ahead and catch up on the chat, because it looks like Stay and Play. What's up, girlfriend? How you doing? So let me catch up. Let's see what Cobalt Steel says. I've been wanting to play Skyrim here. And I've been up to the point of clicking play, but I immediately lose interest when I press play. Started to think about the effects Skyrim had on me, and I just can't play it anymore. Well, I mean, if you really, really want to play Skyrim, but you're bored by like how it normally is, I would highly recommend looking into like mods for the game. Because I did get to a point where I had burned out every facility and possibility in Skyrim Vanilla, and the only way that I could continue to enjoy it was to start downloading mods and modifying my game. And that made it better for a while, until all my mods broke when I tried to set up SKSE. So, whatever. I think I'm done with Skyrim. I don't think I'll go back to it. But if you choose to go back to it, there's still options out there for you, homie. Stay in Place says, hello, losing yourself in a good story is quite different than pretending to be that story. I agree. Oh, absolutely, dude. Making characters relatable to real life in small amounts. Yeah, because that's exactly what I'm talking about, is that, like, I like to believe that, you know, like, I could, like, I mean, and yes, every individual character doesn't need to be me, but I like the idea of having a character that I could say, like, yes, I can understand that you are a normal person who is dealing with a particular struggle. And I could even say, like, yeah, like, I might react in that way based on that particular struggle. Like, I can't know for sure. But the thing is that I could believe that you have human qualities in this story and you're dealing with a very situational kind of problem that you have to solve on your own with those character qualities that you have. Like, that's what I want to see. So, like, you know, like, I gave up on watching an anime after, like, 1.5 episodes. And there were a lot of problems with it, but one of the main things that I hated about it was that main character was so two-dimensional. It was sad how two-dimensional it was. He was just a nice guy, and that's it. And it was annoying. It was absolutely annoying. And, like, there were a lot of things that particular story had that I hated, but, which I gave up on. I couldn't even watch 2 episodes. I normally have a rule, guys, about watching, you know, television shows or animes or whatever. If your show or anime is not entertaining after 3 episodes, I quit. I'm done. I don't want anything to do with it. Like, stay away from me. I'm over it. I'm done with it. Get out of my face. Like, that's legitimately how I feel about it. It's, I have to be enthralled. Like, give me an interesting world. Give me fascinating characters. Like, make me care about those characters. Give me a good plot development. Like, provide me some drama that I can believe. Like, give me something that I can chew on and mull over and think about. Like, challenge my brain, goddammit! Like, challenge my brain! Stay in Place says alternate selves, different world, but same person on the whole. It's what role-playing is. Being a different version of yourself or a different perspective than your own. Yeah! That's another good point. I didn't even think of it that way. Is like, maybe you're trying to escape into a reality where you're imagining yourself as a totally and completely different person. You know? Like, I've done that too. Like, I actually used to play Skyrim. I did a Skyrim playthrough, like, this was years ago, where, well, actually, a lot of my Skyrim playthroughs, I was always trying to roleplay different characters. Like, I remember doing a chaotic evil style character, where, you know, I was purposely doing the most vicious, awful, disgusting things I could as this one chaotic evil character, because his goal was to become, like, the most powerful, disgusting, vile, evil villain possible in the game. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to roleplay as a disgusting, vile, evil, villainous character. I'm not actually that way, but goddamn did I have a good time pretending that I was one, you know? But then I also, like, I had a really deep, long playthrough with one character where I had, for Skyrim in particular, where I have, like, someday, okay, guys? Let me go ahead and talk about this a little bit. Someday, I want to write a fantasy novel series, okay? I have been working on a fantasy novel series where I've built an entire world with a wide range of different characters. There's all sorts of different continents with different kinds of countries, and there's, like, gods, and, like, there's deity characters, different kinds of, you know, fantasy races, multiple different plot lines. Like, I have, like, I have like a few different plot lines. Like I think I have like 3 or 4 different plot lines that occur in this fantasy world that I've been building for more than a decade now. I've been writing this story in my head and on paper in some places for definitely over 10 years. And someday I want to turn it into an actual novel series at some point. But the thing is that like the whole point of me explaining that was that there is one very distinct character that I had built even before I started writing that novel series that I came up with. Well, relatively writing. It's not in actual books. It's like if you guys have ever read the book The Silmarillion, the work that I've done for my book series is sort of like the Silmarillion, where it's like a history book and notation of things that have occurred on this world, rather than being an actual set of stories on the world. So I have this one very distinct character that I have written more complexly than any other character in the entire series of information that I have. And I even made him a character in video games that I've played, where, like, fantasy games, like, I made him a character in, when I used to play Oblivion. I made him a character when I also played Skyrim. And I role-played as that character, like, and the thing is that he was distinctly different from me. I wasn't actually, like, personifying myself as a character in the game. I literally was role-playing a very specific character that I had written outside of those games, and he had very distinct motivations and dreams and goals and things like that. And then I wrote him into the games of like Oblivion and Skyrim, where I made him have certain kinds of habits in those games, and I made him do weird things that were out of the normal for the normal gameplay, but they were distinct qualities of who he was as a character. For example, one of the things that this particular character that I roleplayed as very frequently was he always carried a gold diamond ring on him all the time. He would wear a gold diamond ring, and he would always carry a gold diamond ring on him. And the reason why was because he's a character with a tragic backstory where he comes from like a different world, and he was able to traverse across multiple different worlds after achieving basically a planeswalker kind of style of power. Now, I don't like to go the whole magic route, so I tried my hardest to like make it different from what planeswalkers actually are as best as I could. But the basic gist of it is that him and also a limited amount of other characters that are like him have the ability to traverse across different kinds of universes and dimensions and things like that. So, like, the idea was that the world that he originated from, he had a love of his life, and basically, in the development of the storyline, the woman that he was in love with was murdered in front of his eyes. But, like, what's also really interesting is that the murder of the love of his life was also for the better good of the dimension that he was from. See, I know how to write depth. Basically, what was occurring was the world was going to end in this really interesting, specific way. And she was basically groomed, his girlfriend, the woman that he was in love with, was being groomed over time to be a ritual sacrifice that would essentially, her soul would ascend and like prevent the world from being destroyed. And the idea is that they do this ritual every like millennia or so. Maybe less than a millennia, like every, few decades or so, something like that. And the idea is that there's like a big old world spell that seals the dimension that he's in. And the idea is that the dimension is this dangerous, volatile dimension that is constantly falling apart over time. And there's a world spell that keeps the dimension basically sealed, so that way it doesn't fall apart and become rampant with like evil and awfulness. And the woman that he was in love with was being The woman that he was in love with was being groomed over time to be a ritual sacrifice to reseal the giant world spell that prevents the world from falling apart. And basically what happened was a bunch of events that occur that are very fascinating that I don't want to go into detail about because someday I will write this and I don't want to spoil it. But a series of events occur where she basically, like, how do I explain it without spoiling anything? She deviated from that path, basically, through some very interesting events. And she deviated from the path of being used to reseal the dimension. And what occurred was basically the dimension did actually start to fall apart and shit starts to hit the fan. And in the process of everything going down, she is about to be saved by the character that I'm talking about. The character that I'm talking about that I roleplayed. And as he's in the process of saving her, a hero of the world, like a guy who was chosen as the main hero to save the dimension, comes in and murders her right in front of him. And then, of course, when he murders her right in front of him, which is very sad, her soul ascends from her body and reaffirms the world spell, which basically the dimension fixes itself and all the evil is destroyed. And yes, she's dead, but her soul has fixed the dimension. So, but the thing is that the character that I'm talking about, that I roleplayed in a few times in the games, he lost the love of his life, and it destroyed him. And the whole thing is that upon her death, he ascended into what is essentially his godhood, like the planeswalking kind of thing that I was describing, where he basically ascended into the tragedy allowed him to ascend into this ultimate power. And then in the process of the tragedy, he disappeared towards another dimension. And the story kind of goes on from there based on his travels through this multiversal, multi-dimensional storyline where you follow him as a character and you see him descend into various different worlds and existences. So, and the reason why I went through that long description is in the games of Oblivion and Skyrim, I basically continued that storyline where he basically has traveled into the world of Nirn, which is the world that, Oblivion and Skyrim take place in. So basically the storyline that I did was that he traveled, across the dimensional space and landed in Nirn, and in the process of landing in Nirn, he's essentially lost all of his powers. And the whole storyline that I followed along in Skyrim and Oblivion was him going through the process of desperately trying to reattain all of his godly power. Which is, if you guys have played Skyrim or Oblivion, basically by the time you get to the end of the game, you're a god. Nobody can beat you. Nothing can kill you. You're the most powerful being in the entire world, So that was the process that I went through when I would play those games with that role-played character. And like I said, the whole thing is that he carries he wears a gold diamond ring, and he carries a gold diamond ring because the gold diamond ring was the ring that he was going to use to propose to the woman that he loved, which he never got to do. So I know a thing or two about role-playing, guys. But yeah, someday I'll write that book series. Someday. I don't want to ever give up on it. I have all the notation hidden way back in a series of notebooks. I have probably like 2 or 3 different notebooks that are basically full of information that is, like I said, kind of like the Silmarillion, where it's world development and character development, but not so much story development. Let's see here. I'm going to catch up a little bit. Blah 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 blah. Okay, Stay in Place says I have only a manga to recommend, no anime. Sorry, I'm masochist with anime. LMAO. I mean, that's all good. I used to be a big manga reader. In fact, I'm actually right across from me, because I have a lot of books right in front of me that you guys can't see. I actually have my favorite mangas of all time kind of sitting in front of me. Let me grab them real quick. Might as well. This is the podcast. I can do whatever I want. I can bring it on. I don't even care. So I'm going to grab them real quick. Give me a second, okay? They're right here. I don't have to go far, I promise. So I have this bad boy, which I take very good care of because this is, this guy is more of a collector's item than a readable book. And I'll grab these three down here, which are also favorites of mine. I wish I actually, one of them is that I wish I had, more of the series, but I only wanted to collect the one because it mattered so much to me. And I've read all of these. It's just I try and take really good care of them because in my eyes, they're collectibles. So they're more than just books. Like I take books like I treat books like, you know, magic card collectors treat magic cards. Like they're all collectibles to me. That's how I feel. Before I show you guys those, I'm going to catch up on the chat just a little bit more. Stay in Play says Tower of God and or God of High School. Okay, Stay in Play. I'm sorry to say this. Girlfriend. I really dislike Tower of God. It's not the worst anime I've ever seen, but I'm not a fan. Oh, you like my little creeper, Zoo? By the way, I did see you, Zoo. I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you earlier. I just saw your comment pop up and realized I should probably say hi to you, Zoo. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Tower of God. I thought it wasn't very good, overall. Just didn't enjoy it. The characters just really annoyed me. I didn't find them all that interesting. They're relatively deep to a degree, but they just didn't, like, I didn't care about them, you know? God of High School is an anime I've never seen before. I don't know anything about it. They're both Korean mangas, meaning it doesn't build up suspense as opposed to stacking plots within more subplots. I always thought Tower of God was an Americanized anime, but I mean, I guess that shows how much I know about Tower of God. I just didn't enjoy Tower of God. I didn't think it was very good. I do see that Roxas is back, and I believe I said hello to him already. Stan plays Japanese mangas, Inuyasha and Naruto build up suspense by delaying an ending to any conflict, effectively making each conflict more satisfying. It's just different strokes for different folks. Silmarillion by Tolkien, been looking for an original paperback. I have a hardback of Silmarillion. I don't know if it's a first edition, but it's one of those early versions for sure. But I do have a very nice hardback of the Silmarillion, which my father gave me. Like I said, guys, I'm a book collector. I'm very serious about it. Stay in Place says, I will have to depart in about 15 minutes, but I can return if you planned on streaming more or streaming something else. I'm going to lend you the laptop, Roxas. Give me 15, and I'll explain it. Stay and Play and Roxas, do you two know each other in real life? What? Wait, what? Wait, did it? What? Are you for real? Do you two know each other in real life, like for rizzles? That is something I would have never ever believed in my entire life. What? I had no idea. I legitimately had no idea. I would have never guessed that. I always just assumed that you two were like two completely separate entities that had nothing to do with each other. That's insane. Like, I had no idea. That's insane. That kind of blew my mind right there. Only 3 people? That's okay. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I don't mind. That's totally fine. You know, because, like, and the thing is, too, is, like, sometimes I get a bunch of people, sometimes I get a few people. It doesn't hurt my feelings, I promise you guys. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Gotta go. I'm gonna go play some games. All right, go do you. Had to pop out, can barely hear you. The creeper is cute. Oh, thank you, Zoo. Hell yeah, my Stephen King collection is great, and no, the anime was a bad iteration. Okay. I lost interest like one quarter of the way through it, I think. Let's see. Zeus says the anime I watched is kind of basic. That's okay, like it's fine. You have to read it. God of High School was different but good, and yes, I believe America made the Tower of God anime, but the manga is from Korea. I didn't know that. Basically, Stay and Play and Cassie and Roxas are telling me that they are living in the same house. Apparently, she's his stepmom. I had no idea. I had no idea. Saying I should read them. Okay. How to confuse a habanero, says Zoo. Yeah, definitely. I had no idea. That is kind of insane to me. I just assumed you two were like totally like had nothing to do with each other. And like there was nothing that you guys have ever spoken to me about that would have ever in the slightest made me think that you guys know each other in real life. Okay, so let me show off these books. I'm going to go from like these are basically my favorite mangas of all time. So the first one I have here is this is The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. Let me make sure that I can show you guys properly. So this manga is a work of art. I was first amazed by it. It's got a little scuff mark on the back here. Okay, it's fine. So I was first introduced to about this through the anime. I watched the entire anime first, and I absolutely adored it. In fact, actually, watching The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya and then continuing on and reading this book changed my philosophy of a lot of different things. My overall view on things that happen in life and philosophy. So this series blew my mind, and I went way out of my way to get my hands on this book. But the thing is that I never kept up with it. This is my only copy. I actually read the majority of this series online on a manga site where I could, read mangas at my own pleasure. So I got through the majority. I remember what happened was I got into all the way up to like book 4 or book 5. And then by the time I had hit book 4 or book 5, it was on recent release. So in other words, like I hit a wall where I couldn't read any more of the books. And then sadly, I just kind of gave up on reading the books. But I adore this. The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya was a very eye-opening series for me, and I adore this. This particular book, it's very special to me, so I hold on to it. Probably won't read it again, and it's in alright condition. I guess it has like a couple of frayed edges. Yeah, the cover is frayed just a wee bit, but it's not that bad. $10 on the price tag, goodness gracious. Mangas are so expensive in America, it blows my mind. But yeah, I love this book, it's fantastic. Let's see, Stay in Place says, anime cut out so much for Tower of God, though you'd like the God of High School more, to be honest. Much more technical martial arts and political plots, as well as relationship arcs. That could be kind of cool. Zeus says, I do like animes that are more psychological and violent. The grosser, the better. Yeah, I like horror anime, too. And Stay in Place says, oh my god, acquire the Into the New World. Might have messed up the name a little. The manga's supposed to be okay, but it's a mindfuck. Okay, I might look into it. I don't read mangas as much as I used to. So let me get into the next mangas that I have here. So, and mind you, like, I have a bunch of mangas, like, elsewhere. The ones I'm showing you are my all-time favorites. These are the ones that are, like, in my opinion, the best mangas ever made of all time. So, the next two I'm going to show you is, this is Kyuko-chan. And Kyuko-chan, don't you dare talk to me about Elfenlied Stay and Play. Don't you dare. I'm gonna give you one of the most controversial opinions you will ever hear when it comes to anime. You want to hear that controversial opinion? Elfenlied is a terrible anime. It's terrible. The characters suck. The plot sucks. It's not fun. It's gory and sexual for the purpose of being gory, and sexual. That's it. It's terrible. I hate it. It might as well be a snuff flick. Like, I can't stand. I hated it. I hated Elfen Light. I think it's terrible. You're allowed to like it. That's okay. You're allowed to have wrong opinions. That's fine. Excuse me. But anyways, yeah. So, oh, I'm sorry that you have to go stay and play. I wish I could show you more, but excuse me. If you have to go, it's all good. No worries. So, Kyuko-chan. So let me talk about this a little bit. So this is from one of my favorite manga artists and writers of all time. Kyuko-chan is written by Ueda Hajime. It's 2 books. It's only 2 books. It's not an ongoing series. And Kyuko-chan is... It's hard to describe. So the general idea of what Kyuko-chan is about is it's about an alien robot girl who crashes to Earth, and then a young boy who's like a preteen boy discovers the alien robot girl and finds out that it's a mech that he can control and take over. And it's fascinating because, like, Ueda Hajime, the writer of this series, who I adore, he has this amazing ability to write some of the most tragically fascinating characters I've ever seen before. Like, the thing is that, like, the main character, who is, you can actually see a picture of him on the back here, that's the main character. The main character, his name is Kirio. He's basically, like, a young preteen boy who is relatively, like, a normal kid, a relatively good person at his core. But the thing is that he's still, like, a young boy who's growing up and, like, learning to live his life. And you kind of learn, as you get to know him a bit better, that he doesn't exactly have the best family life of all time. And he has this very rough relationship with his sister. And you see him kind of, like, over throughout the novels, he kind of, like, retaliates against the world and his friends and his family because of what he has to deal with in his regular life. And what's really fascinating is that when he gets to know the robot girl is, like, designed to be like, oh, like, you know, you found me, you saved me, like, you know, you're my master, like, all this stuff. And he just uses that to his overall advantage and basically kind of, like, it's, like, to kind of explain it, this is a story about a kid operating through abusive relationships. And it's him living an abusive relationship lifestyle where he is a victim of the abusive relationships. But also on top of that, he also creates abusive relationships in retaliation from being a victim. So, and it's really fascinating to, like, watch him have to grow and learn about, you know, what is right, what is wrong. You know, he has to learn about, like, you know, he's part of these unhealthy relationships, but, you know, he's also creating unhealthy relationships, and he has to, like, learn how to treat people and learn the proper way to know what it's like to have people treat him. And it's this very deep story. It's fascinating, and it's like a fantasy science fiction story, but overall it's a story about basically an abused child learning how to cope and grow and become a better person because of the abuse that he has had to deal with throughout his life. It's great. It's a great story. Like I said, it's very emotional. It's very deep, and the characters are fantastic. And the thing is that Ueda Hajime, he writes and draws everything. So he's both a writer and an animator. And he has this, like, if you look at the front and you see kind of like the drawing style, that's how these books are, you know, drawn. And I could even, like, kind of I want to be careful with these books because I adore these books and I try to take really good care of them. But basically, like the style of Ueda Hajime is very unique to him, and it's very distinct. And sometimes it may seem simplistic, but one of the things that he's very good at doing is conveying emotions and you know, situational, you know, things based on his simplistic style of drawing and animating. He's a very fascinating writer and animator. And Kyuko-chan, these two books, these are the only two books. There's only two of them. These are fantastic. And then the last book that I'm going to show off, very last one, and this is what got me. This is another Ueda Hajime novel, and this is what got me into Ueda Hajime. I saved the best for last. This is the FLCL Omnibus. This is basically one of my most prized treasures that I own when it comes to books. This book has never been opened or read. Because I actually used to own the FLCL books in different copies, and I read the FLCL books for maybe 5 times because they were so good. I've read this series so many times. This was my Bible growing up as a young preteen as well as early high school. I was obsessed with not only the anime, but as well as the book. And this one I bought special. Like, I bought this one special because my original copies were destroyed. I had read them so much that I tarnished all the paper, all the pages with dirt and fingerprints and sweat. And the corners were terribly frayed. The cover and back cover were both ripped and torn because I had lent it out to people who didn't take very good care of them. And at some point, I lended the books to somebody, and like my original copies of FLCL, I lent them to somebody, and then I never saw them ever again. They were gone forever. I don't own them anymore, my original copies. But that's okay because they were totally torn and ravaged to shit. But I bought this special with the idea that I would never open it and never read it. I have this book memorized. I know this book like front to back memorized. I know it completely by heart. So there's no reason for me to ever really need to open this book up and read it. FLCL is also a 2-book series. It's only 2 books, just like Kyuko-chan. Ueda Hajime kind of does shorter stories. He doesn't do really long stories. He does short ones. But this is the omnibus, which means it is both books put into a singular book. So it's got everything in it. And this is basically just a collector's item for me at this point. I adore it. But yeah, FLCL is absolutely fantastic. And Ueda Hajime is a genius manga and anime writer and animator. So I love him to death. But yeah, those are basically those are like my favorite mangas that I own. I have a few more in the back that are, they're okay. I probably have to dig through some boxes to actually find them and pull them up. I also had like a couple of other mangas. One of them was I had the first copy of, what is it called? Parasite. And I also have a first copy of, I think it's called 1,000 Needles or 10,000 Needles, which was okay. It was all right. It was kind of interesting, I guess. It was very similar to Parasite. And those books were bought for me by a friend a long time ago. I also used to have the first 3 issues of Ranma 1-2. And that was given to me by an old high school girlfriend a long time ago. But those are probably all hidden in a box. I used to have the complete series of Chobits, which I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me see over here. So this right here, the shirt that I'm wearing, this is a Chobits shirt. So I used to have the entire Chobits series, which I believe is like 8 books or something like that. Something of that nonsense. And I really enjoyed Chobits. but I wasn't the biggest fan of the ending. The ending of Chobits is a little graphic. It's not for children. But it was all right. It was a good story. I like Chobits because it was a fascinating dive into artificial intelligence and the idea of because like Chobits was a romance story, sure, and that was fine. It was a fine romance story. It wasn't that big of a deal to like the romance story was all right. But what made Chobits so fascinating was it was a story about the beginning of sentient computers. It's basically like if you guys have ever seen what's it called? Blade Runner. Chobits was like a only slightly more lighthearted version of Blade Runner, it was all about sentient computers and artificial intelligence at its beginning. And that's what drew me into the story of Chobits was the overall concept that it was about, sentient computers and, what comes from that and things like that. So that was a series I really enjoyed. I'm gonna catch up on the chat a bit. Zeus says, I've seen Elfen Lied before. It's been forever since I've seen it, though. It's from New World, not into Still Found It Easily. Okay. The anime you were talking about. Okay. Thoth says, hey, Thoth. Hi, Thoth. I'm glad to see you in here. Thoth says, well, stay. If you watch Blood Sea, you need to also watch the movie also. Okay. How long is the FLCL anime? So, the original series is 6 episodes, and I also own all 6 episodes. I want to eventually buy the original 6 on Blu-ray as a collector's item, but it's pricey, and I just haven't had the time to really, get into that. But I adore the original anime of FLCL, and I also adore, as I showed, the book. Or I should say books. But yeah, it's 6 episodes. I like to pretend that the FLCL recreation doesn't exist. I'm not interested in it in the slightest. I've heard many I've never seen it. I've heard many terrible things about it. And I mean, there's the classic saying of oh, well, you can't know unless you actually watch it. And it's like the previews that I've seen, the information that's been provided about the FLCL recreation, just seems like a lot of things that I am not in the slightest, not even a wee bit interested in. And the thing is that the original FLCL story was a very specific type of experience. It was telling of I didn't even really talk about what the story is about. So FLCL, I was talking about Kyuko-chan, which is kind of like a story about a abused child who's trying to cope with the abuse that he's lived through, and also in the process abuses others. And he has to learn from that. And that's what's really fascinating about Kyuko-chan. FLCL is more of a coming-of-age story. It's a story about once again, a young preteen boy. And it's all about him having to grow up and learn, the ordeals of the process of growing up. Like the physical changes, the emotional changes, taking on more responsibility, being able to cultivate the right kind of friends, learning how to take care of others, learning about what it's like to fall in love. That's what it's about. That's what FLCL is about. And I mean, obviously it's got robots and mech, and it's a fantasy story and blah, 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 blah. But overall, it's a story about a boy learning to grow up and understand what that's like. And the thing is I should say this too. When I first got into FLCL, I was a young preteen boy. I watched the entire anime series as a young preteen boy, and I read the FLCL books as a young preteen boy. And that was a major deal for me because, like when you're growing up as a preteen boy, there's a lot of things going on in your life that, you're struggling to understand and you're trying to cope with, and it's rough. And, like obviously, like, being an adult is more rough, like, and usually, when you're a child, have a free go at life, but it doesn't change the fact that, being a young preteen boy, you're very vulnerable. And I mean, you know what, just being a boy, preteen boy, or a preteen girl, because another thing that I love about FLCL, and Kyuko-chan does this a little bit too, because Kyuko-chan is also about a brother and sister who abuse one another. And so they kind of go over that stuff too. But FLCL, they also have a supplemental preteen girl character in the story that is more or less going through the same sort of ordeals that the main character is going through. And the genius behind it is that you get to see it from both sides. Like, the main character is a preteen boy, but there's a side preteen girl character who's also having to learn about growing up and falling in love and all these other things. And it's definitely nice to see it from both sides. And like I said, growing up as a young preteen boy myself, watching that anime and reading those mangas, it had a very positive effect on me, and it helped me cope with, living my life at that time and understanding what I was going through. And that's why I adored FLCL so much. And like now, it affected me heavily while I was growing up, but now as an adult, I can reflect on it and also enjoy the fact that it was, what it was at the time that I had viewed it, but I can also enjoy it now as just a great piece of writing, It's kind of like that with, like, there are other books that I read, growing up as a young boy and a teenager that also affected me in different ways, and that are actual books, not just mangas, that positively affected my life and that I needed to read because, I needed that at that time. And FLCL is great for that. It's very good. It's a great story for, preteens and young teenagers who need to identify with characters outside of themselves, And it helps them kind of like... And I mean, the thing that's really fun about FLCL too is that it's chaotic. It's wild. It's crazy. But that's on purpose. The absolute chaos that ensues when you're watching the anime or reading the mangas is because that's the further expression that growing up is chaos. Like, it's chaos. And, like, you're just learning to cope with it. And that's what it's all about, because the one, like, amongst all the chaos in the FLCL storyline, the one definitive factor that always seems to be stabilized in reality and accepting reality for what it is and trying to do the right thing, in society and all that stuff, is the main character. Through all the chaos of growing up and dealing with all the insane shit that happens in the book, he is the one constant factor that is always capable of bringing himself into reality and keeping himself there. And, and he begs that from the other characters as well. And it's really well done. It's really well done. So yeah, Ueda Hajime, he's a fantastic animator and writer, and I adore the books that he did. Is this a weeb stream, asked Thoth? Kinda. I was mostly talking about media in general, and then I kind of started talking about anime, and then I got into talking about mangas and so forth. And I even talked about, I had a childhood friend of mine who came into the stream, and we were reminiscing together, so we were kind of talking about that. It's just a variety of different things that I felt like talking about. We're getting close here. I will have to wrap this up soon, but I'm gonna kind of hang out in the chat log a bit more. Uh, Thoth says, heard the newer FLCL anime is just crap to the whole source material. Yeah, I mean, I heard that it's not very good either. And the previews that I saw of it kind of looked, and I know Wrath of Wood is saying good things about it. I can see you, Wrath of Wood. I see you. Yeah, you can't hide from me. I see you, buddy. But I did wanted to kind of talk about it. The things that I have heard about the new FLCL, and also the previews that I saw, they just seemed like it had lost touch with what FLCL was originally all about. And I mean, the thing is too, is because like I heard like one of the things that I heard was, oh, FLCL Progressive is supposed to be the girls' side of like FLCL, and it's like, if that's what you think, then you missed what was going on in the original FLCL series. The story of FLCL is told from both sexes' point of view. Like, for example, like my favorite episode of the FLCL anime is episode 3. And the reason why is because FLCL is all, like, FLCL episode 3 is 100% dedicated to Ninamori, which is my favorite girl character and probably the most important girl character in the entire storyline. And the reason why is because Ninamo-san, Ninamori is the female representation of the main male character. She is the female side of the storyline. And, like, the thing is that even after episode 3, like, before and after episode 3 is dedicated to her. It's all about understanding what she's going through, like, the harshness of reality on her side, dealing with her parents, dealing with, you know, the controversies that her life has brought upon her, like, having to, you know, figure out her feelings for a boy that she's attracted to, which is the main character. Having to understand, like, you know, what it's like to be popular and respected in school, but also having to deal with the fact that she doesn't really know what she's doing in her life because she's just a young girl, you know? And then she has to accept the fact that she's the daughter of the mayor of the town. So, like, all these people have these kind of expectations that they just put upon her simply because she's the daughter of the mayor. And so, like, she has to live up to a certain way and be, you know, a particular type of person that other people see her as, even though that's not how she wants to be. Like, there's a whole scene in the 3rd episode where she, you know, runs away from acting practice and she escapes towards the subway stairwell and she just kind of buys a soda and just hangs out there and does whatever she feels like. And the main character, Naota, comes up to her and she's like, oh, the class president is out here acting like a derelict, you know, which is him making commentary about the fact that, hey, you're the class president, you're the mayor's daughter. Like, people expect a very specific type of activity and presentation from you, and you're not acting on it. And so, like, you know, she is the female representation of the male character, which is, like, she has to deal with her own struggles. She has to grow up in her own way. She has life lessons to learn. And what's really cool is that by the end of the 3rd episode, she grows a lot. She significantly grows. She starts acting the way that she wants to be. She starts, and like you even see it in the episodes after episode 3 where, you know, she's hanging out with Naota's friends, which was unusual for her at first. And, you know, Naota's friends get a part-time job, which she's tagging along. She's not wearing fancy primp clothes, you know, like primp and proper clothes. She wears, like, you know, a t-shirt, she ties up her hair, you know, she's eating sweets and you know, being a derelict, and she learned from that episode that she can be the person that she wants to be, and it doesn't matter what other people expect from her. That's why Ninamori's, like, the best girl character in the whole show. I know that a lot of people are usually a fan of Mei Mimi. Mei Mimi is a whole nother intriguing character all by herself. But Ninamori is the, in my opinion, deepest and most fascinating and girl character, who also has the most significant growth within the show. But yeah, the whole show is great. FLCL is a fantastic storyline, like absolutely hands down, and I adore it. So my overall point is that if the whole point of FLCL Progressive was to tell a girl's coming of age story because the first story didn't do it, I disagree. I believe that the first story told everything that needed to be told. Like, it has a proper beginning, it has a proper development, and it has a proper ending to it. And there was no reason to have to go any further than that. And, they were able to tell you the point of view from a boy growing up. They were able to tell you from the girl growing up. And they even had all the characters in between. They had, like, the development of the father character, which was really interesting, because he, in his own, had a lot of growing to do in the series. And then, you had, like, Mei Mimi, who was kind of this mess of a character. That, she sad character that Mei Mimi was. But, anyways, I do have to start wrapping this up, so I'll read a bit more in the chat. Ratherwood says FLCL is, alternative or progressive or whatever the hell it's called, is the giggling schoolgirl version, but robots still show up and those parts are good. But see, that's exactly what I'm talking about, is because it sounds like every time I hear people talk about it, and every time I've ever seen anything about it, like I've never actually watched the entire anime or anything like that, it just seems like they lost touch with what the story, like what it was all about, It's kind of like when you, like, watch a really good movie, that's really fantastic and really well done, and then they make a sequel to it, and then the sequel has completely lost touch with what made the original story so damn good. Like, it's like they didn't realize why the characters were interesting. They didn't realize, like, why the jokes were so funny. They didn't realize, like, why the plot was so well done. They didn't understand the development, and thus they just kind of put out a piece of crap sequel movie because the first movie was such a hit, So, I mean, excuse me. But yeah, it's, that's how I feel about it. I don't like it when, like, they lose touch with what it originally was. I can't talk about FLCL without summoning Wrathwood. That's awesome. I'm glad that I have a fellow FLCL fan in here. That's awesome. Zeus says, what's that one anime that everyone says is way too effed up to watch? I would automatically assume that you're probably talking about Goblin Slayer. There's another one that I was really intrigued by that was considered super controversial, that is only one episode long. So first of all, people say that Goblin Slayer is considered to be this very messed up anime. I've never seen it. I've actually never seen Goblin Slayer, but I hear a lot of people say that it's inappropriate, it's overly sexualized, it's overly violent, and all sorts of things. But I've also heard from a lot of people that I personally trust that Goblin Slayer is actually really good. So at some point I'll have to watch it. The other one that is considered to be very controversial, there's only one episode of it, and I watched it. I watched the one episode of it, and I can understand why there's controversy behind it, but at the same time, it was just fun. It was just a fun little one-off little thing. It's called Interspecies Reviewers. Interspecies Reviewers. And the Interspecies Reviewers, it's only one episode. It's not a show, it's not a series. It's one single episode. It's a one-off. And it's apparently I watched it because I was curious. And it's a story. It's like a fantasy story about primarily three characters. Two of them are guys, and one of them is what's the word for it? The other one is a hermaphrodite. That's what it is. So it's two guys and a hermaphrodite, and it's a story about these two guys and a hermaphrodite who go on a journey to have sex with as many different varieties of monster humans as they possibly can. And it's just it's very in your face. It's very hypersexualized. It's very crude, but it's hilarious. I enjoyed it. I thought it was, I don't get easily offended by things like that. And I thought it was super funny. And while I was watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this is intended for adults. This is not for children. Hell, this is not even meant for teenagers. It's a very adult thing. And it's, if you're an adult who enjoys adult over-sexualized humor like I do, it's hilarious. It's a lot of fun. But there's a lot of people who say that it was controversial for the sake of being controversial. It was funny, and I enjoyed it, and I thought it was great. So, whatever, you know? Zeus says it's not Goblin Slayer or Interspecies Reviewer. Well, then I don't know what it is. Those are the two most controversial ones that I could think of. Let's see. Okay. Porygon episode of Pokemon Wrath of Wood is talking about. Zeus says, no, like a little girl loses all her family and joins the freak show in which she marries an old contortionist? What? I have never heard of that, ever. I've never heard of anything like that before in my life. I don't know what to tell you, Zoo. I've never heard of an anime like that before in my entire life. Ratherwood says, nah, yo, it's a lot of fun. Just give them a try. I recommend Progressive. I didn't finish it at all. I don't know. Maybe. Hey, you're not allowed to run ads on here. You're not allowed to run. Get out of here. Get out of my face, you jerkwad. All right. Trying to sell people something. Get out of my face, you jerk. All right. Well, guys, I do really need to wrap this up. It's been 2 hours, and which I've, very heartily enjoyed. But I do have to get going. I do have other places to be today. I got to go get lunch, and then I got to go meet up with a good friend of mine for some drinks. And yeah, and that'll probably be the majority of my day. So it's really old as well. Yeah, I've never heard of it. That doesn't sound familiar to me in the slightest. But anyways, yeah, so I had a great time, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate all you guys. I'm going to go ahead and say all the wonderful things that I always say to you guys all the time, which is like and comment and subscribe, and go ahead and hit the notification bell, because I greatly appreciate that stuff. It really helps me out, especially with the overall growth of this channel, which seems to be doing a great job overall, in my opinion anyways. And other than that, well, okay, also check in the description below for all of my wonderful links and things like that. And I could never possibly ever leave here without giving a wonderful, lovely shout out to my beautiful, sexy Patreon members, which are ya boy Lettuce, Bo Falcon, Fajouk, James P, and the lovely Miss Rebecca. So thank you, Patreon members, for supporting all the things I do. I greatly appreciate it. You really help me out. And I also love all of my subscribers and viewers as well. You guys help me out especially well, because the more you guys come here and hang out with me and do all the wonderful things that you do on my channel, it proves to YouTube that I do in fact matter, and my channel does in fact matter, and people want to be a part of it. So it makes YouTube pretend that I matter for however amount of time that may be. So, and we will get bigger. We will get more people. We'll get a larger audience. We will make this channel into something beautiful that everybody can enjoy. But yeah, and it's just been great. It's been fun having you guys here and doing all the things that I'm doing. So thank you for being here so much. I really appreciate it. The last thing I'm going to say is, guys, follow your dreams, okay? Okay? All right. I'll see you guys later. You guys have a great night. Take it easy. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. You guys are wonderful. I'll see y'all later. Have a great night. Goodbye.